Today, the building industry of Ukraine has gone beyond the limits of sustainable development more than in other parts of the world. This phenomenon has developed from many factors, including Russian aggression, the legacy of the inefficient economy of the USSR, the deterioration of the housing stock, the low incomes of most of the population, and many others. Due to the acute socio-economic crisis, new demands for a return to a steady state can hardly be met. In the opinion of the authors of this article, one of the possible solutions to the problem may be the development of step-by-step strategies for the regeneration of the buildings in the cities. The main problem is determining the optimal pace of social, environmental and economic changes in achieving a sustainable state for the city. Too rapid changes will inevitably lead to an aggravation of the socio-economic crisis. Slow changes will negatively impact the sustainability and ecology of the region. For this reason, in this article, the authors have developed an innovative tool for the evaluation of the optimal value of the speed and acceleration of the modernization of buildings of the city based on the indicator of the ecological path of buildings and the indicator of sustainable availability of life goods for the population that limits the rate of change to a socio-economic acceptable level. This research is a development of the scientific and technical direction program complex for modeling a city as a dynamic system. The research activity is an integral element of the large-scale scientific and technical direction program complex for modeling a city as a dynamic system, developed by the authors. The main goal is the development of a program package as information support for strategic decision-making processes to optimize the principles of city functioning. The program package analyzes the functioning of the city as a complex dynamic system. It evaluates in real time the current state of the city as a system, the state of its subsystems and elements, and predicts changes in the dynamic processes of their functioning. This program package is based on a combination of two trends in modern science: optimization of city functioning processes and management of large amounts of data about the city, big data. The program package simulates the positive and negative dynamics of the transition of a city, its subsystems and individual elements in the situation of stability, crises and possible pre- and post-catastrophe states. The methodological basis for the development of the software package is the vision of the city as a dynamic system in which the totality and mutual influence of all processes determine the parameters of its functioning. The resistance to changes, their speed and acceleration form certain requirements for the organization of the city as a system. The lack of will, means and resources to solve the problem of modernizing outdated housing creates a map of an acute socio-economic crisis that threatens major systemic shocks for the cities of Ukraine. The urgency and complexity of the measures that must be taken to resolve this crisis pose additional threats. Poverty and low social activity of the population will block most of the programs being developed. This conclusion is based on numerous attempts by local governments in large cities across the country to implement experimental projects to solve the problem of obsolete housing. Based on the above information, we have focused the research activity on the development of an innovative tool for regulating the speed and acceleration of the transformation and regeneration of the architectural component of cities in order to achieve social, economic and environmental sustainability. The research activity aims at the evaluation of the vectors of change, namely speed and acceleration by means of the indicator of the ecological path of building, a composite indicator consisting of the ratio of many indicators combined into three main groups: resource consumption, pollution production and biocapacity of adjacent territories. Thus, the main indicator of positive changes is the excess of the region's biocapacity indicators over the consequences of resource consumption and pollution production. Moreover, according to a holistic vision of sustainability, the limit of speed and acceleration should be set by the indicator, sustainable availability of life goods for the population. This indicator is also a composite indicator, consisting of the availability of goods that satisfy a minimum but sufficient continuum of physical and spiritual needs of the population. In accordance with the purpose of the study at the macro level, the vector, speed and acceleration of positive transformations of the architectural component of cities are set by the indicator of the ecological path of building. We have developed a morphological tree representing the structure of the ecological path of a building. Currently, work is underway to create a tabular template for the standard building. The template considers the dynamic processes of functioning of the social, technogenic and environmental components of the building, their statistical data and the mutual influence between themselves and other elements of the city. At the current stage of research, we are solving problems associated with combining methods of system dynamics, statistics, information logistics and content analysis. The expected result of the group's work should be a mathematically and logically designed software module, as an integral part of the program package for modeling a city as a dynamic system, which allows you to automatically take into account the negative and positive impact of an architectural object on the ecology of the region. Several factors are taken into account. Life cycle of the building. The influence of a building on the ecology of the region at all stages of its existence, from the design stage to disposal, circular economy. Data scaling. The indicator is a composite indicator made up of many indicators. To analyze the principles of the functioning of a building and its pressure on the environment, we need the ability to obtain indicators of the ecological footprint at all hierarchical levels from the building to its utilities, structure, resource consumption and individual elements. At this stage of the research, we have developed almost the entire algorithm for scaling and data output. Social behavior of the population. The sum of the personal environmental contributions of each community member becomes a very visible direction for the sustainable development of the city. Here a large complex of factors should be taken into account: ethical consumption, environmental thinking, resource conservation, personal contributions to sustainable development, etc. In turn, each of these factors is revealed into a complex of behavioral reactions of a lower order. Together, the above factors determine the direction of the vector of changes, achieving environmental positivity in the architectural component of the city. Sustainable development goals, laws and building codes set the pace of change. We have developed an interface for an indicator displaying the existing state of the building and the predicted transitions of the principles of its functioning from stability to crisis and possible disaster. This interface is described in detail in our article. The status indicator of an element, object, system is made in the form of a semicircle divided vertically into two equal halves. The light green left half indicates that the system is in a stable state. The light red right half shows that the system is in a state of crisis. The indicator is equipped with a moving arrow, the angle of which indicates whether the system is experiencing a stable or crisis state. The distance from the arrow tip to the outer edge of the indicator semicircle indicates the significance of the event. The transition of the arrow to the green or red zone indicates that the displayed element, object, system has entered conditions of stagnation or a pre-catastrophe state. At the bottom of the indicator there is a scale that gives a forecast of possible transitions of the system from stability to pre-catastrophic states from the current moment to the prediction horizon, usually 50 years. As a result of the practical implementation of the developed software module, which takes into account the ecological footprint of architecture as an integral part of the program complex for modeling the city as a dynamic system, we will be able to identify agents of change. Working title. Agents of change are those elements and dynamic processes of the functioning of a city as a system, the change of which, with minimal expenditure of resources, natural, man-made or social, gives the maximum positive response. As a result of identifying such elements, we are able to formulate, on their basis, step-by-step strategies for the modernization of architectural objects with minimal resource consumption and maximum socio-economic and environmental effects. In assessing the effectiveness of the use of agents of change, a special role is played by the indicator, sustainable availability of life goods for the population. In conditions of severe limitation of available resources, this indicator will allow building a hierarchical sequence of agents of change, based on the availability of planned changes for homeowners. Thus, it becomes possible to carry out modernization while avoiding acute social conflicts.